But now it's time for econocrash, and we'll start with an article from allgov.com before we just get into the other ugly related econocrash updates. Government paid off $62 million in student loans for federal employees, or more specifically, Department of Justice, Department of Defense, Securities Exchange Commission, and State Department employees. Wouldn't it be nice if your employer paid your student loans for you? That's what the federal government has been doing the past 8 years for a select group of government employees. A report from the Office of Personnel Management shows 36 agencies helped out more than 8,500 workers last year, paying $61.8 million in student loan bills. Most of those receiving this assistance were lawyers, criminal investigators, administrative personnel, intelligence analysts, and contract specialists. So, just as we noted before, sometimes those laws of whether it's privacy or benefits, they don't apply to the little people. They apply to the wealthy, to those who will keep their place in power. From the econocrash Bancor. Bancor. That is the name of the global currency that a shocking new IMF report is proposing. The paper is called Reserve Accumulation and International Monetary Stability. However, this is straight up Keynesian ridiculousness. It will do nothing but bring on more SDRs and credit default swaps, and again, more control by fewer people, as they've bought up and secured all the real resources and assets and give us the paper, the facsimiles, the simulacra, the copy of a copy of a copy that doesn't really mean anything. These are the plans being put forward. And again, they write it all down. They talk about it, but like Alan Dulles said, referring to the Warren Report and the JFK assassination, Americans don't read. MikeChambersLive.com goes into the Enron accounting that has bankrupted the U.S. Our deficit is really much, much higher than what the mainstream reports say. We're really probably at somewhere like $202 trillion. Home sales dropped 27% in July and only getting worse, again from the economiccollapseblog.com. But from the Washington Post, straight mainline, new home sales hit 40-year low. We even have Tony Robbins warning economic collapse is coming. Yes, that Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker. He put out a series of videos saying what you might need to do to prepare for some of the things that might be coming. Krugman, one of the mainline economists that a lot of folks look to, but again, if you really want to know what's going on, we generally look to folks like Gerald Celente or Paul Craig Roberts or the upcoming Webster Tarpley. But in Krugman's, one of his most recent opinions from August 20th from the New York Times, what's it called? I got to give you the headline. Appeasing the Bond Gods. However, in the first paragraph of this article, he notes that the banksters are, quote, acting like the priests of some ancient cult. Now, why would they act like that? CNBC.com notes the economy is in a depression, not a recession. And again, people wandering around saying, oh, the recovery's right on its way. They're now announcing it to you that it's not on its way. Bernanke notes, and already told you it's not going to be. We've already, again, glanced back at Google News. U.S. stocks rise as Bernanke provides some relief, sure. Downward revision of GDP growth, a strong signal of stalled recovery. Again, euphemistic language that George Carlin skewered so well. The new film from Danny Schechter, Plunder, The Crime of Our Time, is now available on DVD, and I've actually already watched a little bit of it streaming on Netflix. Another great documentary exposing, again, the controlled demolition from more mainline left standpoint. But I'll also throw out a quick mention that if you're not a member or a subscriber of TragedyandHope.com, you should be. Richard Grove, the creator of 9/11 Synchronicity, 8th Estate, peacerevolution.org, 9/11 whistleblower, financial whistleblower. In a lot of the groups, I just discovered the other day that they've got a Navigating Netflix group, and where folks all talk about some of the things, some of the hidden gems that are on Netflix, and some of the amazing ways you can really use it as an educational tool. But our last couple econocrash notes: below the posting of the government paying off $62 million in student loans for federal employees, U.S. movie theater tickets get the biggest price hike in history, and somehow folks still line up, and it's all because of the 3D garbage. More on that from ArsTechnica.com. Nearly 50% leave Obama mortgage aid program. That's from the Associated Press. And lastly, with, again, what seems to be our weekly report from Webster Tarpley appearing on Russia Today. And as we've noted, Russia Today does great work. If there's a news story, chances are they did a YouTube video about it. I find it a really valuable resource. However, it is coming from Russia. Are they interested in knocking the great Satan down a couple pegs? Of course they are. And that's the game we're playing, and that's why so much of this all leads towards the West and Russia and China. But as long as they're spreading good truth info, we're going to go to where we can get it. China buys euros as fear of world depression grows.
Well, the warning signs don't stop there. Shifting now from the housing crisis to the future of U.S. debt, China has begun to rid itself of U.S. bonds and is now investing in Japan's yen and the euro. Joining me to understand the international implications this could have on the U.S. and global economy is investigative journalist Webster Tarpley.
Hello.
Hey there, Webster. Now, tell me, what does this mean, or what does this spell for the future of U.S. debt?
Well, China has between $2.5 trillion and $3 trillion of foreign exchange, and generally they've kept about a third of that in dollars, but this amount has been going down, and the proportion going down. So what we have now is the U.S. Treasury tells us that in May, the Chinese were holding about 33 billion less of U.S. Treasury paper, Treasury bonds, bills, Treasury securities in general than they had been doing in April. So that's the lowest level of Chinese holdings of U.S. government paper in 1 year. So it means China is diversifying. I wouldn't say dumping, but they're diversifying. We got to also remember in the meantime that the U.S. 2-year Treasury note today hit an all-time high price and an all-time low interest rate, meaning that everybody in the world is piling into short-term U.S. Treasury paper because they're so frightened of a depression.